I don't know why they use all these big words. Begun in earnest. Dave, you're a journalist. What's that mean?
This means they're trying hard to do it.
Why don't you just say that? Begun in earnest?
Because we got to justify those degrees.
He's trying to get that bag.
Right,
Did you say that or no?
That would be better than begun in
That's what he
earnest.
should have wrote.
She's trying to get the bag.
The two is trying to get the bag from the Dolphins.
Begun in earnest? Like
Young Moolah, bang,
You absolutely know what that means.
I know, but I just didn't like how it sounded. I didn't like how it sounded. Joy, do you like the sound of this? The Dolphins trying to make Tua the highest paid quarterback.
You didn't like how it looked in prompter. Like you didn't know what it means or how it sounded. That was just a bunch of big words in the prompter, and you were ready to get to the topic and the conversation. I'm letting you guys behind the scenes on television. That is what happened. He is not mad about how the writer wrote that. Yes, the Dolphins should make Tua the highest paid quarterback because Tua is the next man up, and that is how it works. He will be the highest paid for however long until the next guy that's going to get paid gets paid, and then they will be the highest paid. And we do this every single time someone who hasn't had a bunch of postseason success gets up for their contract, or we have questions about them in any way, or their ability to stay healthy, or any of these things, which are all fair criticisms of Tua because that is what has happened. But he is an extremely accurate quarterback. He had a very healthy season, was healthy all season last year, put up great numbers, career highs in yards, 4,624 yards, 29 touchdowns, 69.3 completion percentage. He did what he was supposed to do in the regular season. They've gone to the postseason back-to-back years. The last time that happens was 1997 to 2001.
Yes.
That was a long time ago. 97 was the year another Taylor was involved with the Dolphins for the first time. So it was a long time ago. And, you know, we just talked about the Cowboys and how quickly things can fall off, and we don't think that will happen. Well, the Dolphins know very well what it's like to go through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback and look for a quarterback and draft a quarterback or sign a quarterback or have a quarterback be injured. It is an exhausting experience, and they don't have that with Tua. They have stability with Tua for the first time in a very long time. He put up great numbers. He answered the question about whether he was going to be healthy. Here's what's going to have to happen for the Dolphins, though, because we saw what happened in the postseason. Win the division, because you need home games, okay? You are not trying to go in the cold and play in the postseason if you make it to the postseason.
No more.
Okay, we can't have that. So this is a very interesting year for the AFC East. We have a lot of questions about what the Bills are going to look like. What is Aaron Rodgers going to look like with the Jets? We're still unconcerned about the Patriots. But this year, the AFC East feels wide open. I think you pay Tua, you get situated, and go and win the division and try and make a run in the postseason. But, yes, they should pay him.
I agree wholeheartedly. You should pay him because you have to pay him. Tua is the most important piece in this Jenga game that the Miami Dolphins are playing. Everything is already built around Tua. So if you don't pay Tua, then you got to get rid of McDaniel and everybody else because the offense was constructed for the quarterback that Tua is. He's a rhythm-based quarterback. He's a timing-based quarterback, and he is an accurate quarterback. Let's go into more nuance. Go back to the 2013 Washington coaching staff. You got McVay. You got LaFleur. You got McDaniels. You got Bobby Slowick. You got Raheem Morris. Now look at the quarterbacks that all of those individuals have. Brock Purdy, Garoppolo, Stafford, Tua, Stroud, Penix, Cousins. None of those quarterbacks are playmakers, but what they do an incredible job of is getting the ball into the hands of the playmakers. That is the tree from which McDaniels reigns. All of those coaches are very similar. Their quarterbacks aren't playmakers outside of maybe Jordan Love. He has a little bit more juice with his legs. But all of the other quarterbacks are accurate, timing-based, ball-out right now QBs. That's who Tua is. So though you might not like Tua for your team, Tua is the perfect quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Thus, Shady McCoy, I do believe they have to pay him. Dave Helman, let's hear your word first.
If I could accomplish one goal from my time on FS1, it would be to change the way we think about and talk about quarterback contracts. Like, embrace paying your quarterback, let go of the idea that it's a boatload of money, and just go with it. Because history shows that getting these decisions out of the way pays off in the long run for your team. For starters, you get the guy under contract. If Tua's under contract for 5 or 6 years, you can manipulate his money. You can push guarantees into the future. You can restructure his deal, which allows you to build a better team and allows you to maximize the last couple years of Tyreek Hill's prime. On top of that, we can even flip it over and say, if it goes poorly, the sooner you got it done, the sooner you can get away from it. Did the LA Rams have a hard time trading Jared Goff?
No.
Not
and
really.
Everyone was freaking out when they signed him.
Exactly. Did anybody, did it age poorly? Obviously, they didn't get the job done. Very few teams do. But I feel like people forget, you mentioned Jimmy G. He was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at one time. It didn't matter because the Niners were willing to do it right away, get him under contract. It allowed them to put a great team around him. And when they realized this wasn't it, they got out from under that deal without a whole lot of issue. The sooner you do this, the more competitive it makes you in the short term, and the easier it makes you to get away from the decision in the long term. It's when you start playing this tag game and putting guys on $30 million contracts for 1 year. That's the key, is you want to pay this guy $30 million for 1 year and really cripple your ability to put a good team around him? Or do you want Tua Tagovailoa costing you $12 million against the salary cap this year, and now we can talk about extensions for Jalen Waddle. Now we can talk about signing guys or trading for guys at midseason. The flexibility is everything. And so do I think Tua is even a top 5 quarterback? Absolutely, I do not. But he is next up, and it makes sense for the Dolphins to do this. It's not even that hard to think about. I think they should get it done as soon as possible.
Clear your throat, big dog. Clear your throat.
Pause. I disagree, Dave.
Okay.
I disagree. I think Tua is a good quarterback. I think he should get paid, right? But there's a couple things that I have questions about. One is,
all right,
did we all forget before Mike McDaniel came to Miami and Tyreek Hill showed up who Tua was?
Are Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill going somewhere?
Oh, no, but my thing is, don't not forget who that is, right? So you pay the quarterbacks to know who you're getting. Another thing is health, right? Now, luckily, he played the whole season last year, did he not?
He did.
But before that, how many games did he play, Acho?
13.
13. So if I'm about to pay you and put an investment in you, right, in the top of the market, like the top of the top, right, Patrick Mahomes is a great, phenomenal player. But one thing about Patrick Mahomes is he's great, he got a lot of talent, but he's going to play every game, right?
He don't miss games.
So when you ask me about Tua, yeah, he should get paid, but the number one, another thing about getting paid with quarterbacks and players in general, I look at either they're getting paid, right? Let's say they're not the best in their position right now, but they have the potential. They're young enough to have the potential. Look, I see that in the next 3 to 4 years, right, with this contract, I see this player being the best player in football, the best player in his position. That's why they get paid. So when I look at Tua, I get what y'all saying about the next man up, but to be the number one highest paid quarterback, was that 60 M's a year?
About 60.
Tua? Did we not see him in the playoffs? See, I'm talking more off like of a teammate, right? If I'm a teammate and this guy's getting all his money, right, the offense should go through you, which it does. But I think when you got a coach like Mike McDaniel, I feel like a lot of quarterbacks can fit in that system. It worked for Tua. I don't see a lot of teams, if they had to go to the market, not the market, but trade value. I don't see a lot of guys banging at the door to get him.
I think it has to be unique.
Come on.
Because where I'm at 2-5, I actually don't think a lot of quarterbacks can fit into that system because I think that system requires an interesting quarterback. You don't have to be that athletic. You don't have to be that dynamic, but you better process quickly. You better throw the ball accurately, and it better come out on time.
That's easier, though, in my opinion. Because nowadays, they require quarterbacks to move around a little bit, right? Make some plays on their feet, right? Even the guys you show on this list that's not playmakers, C.J. Stroud is probably not one of them, but sometimes he does, right? He makes some plays with his feet. But to go back into the old days with the process, that was the thing. We need a quarterback that can read, smart. So Tua is that. I think now it's easier to be more of that than be a playmaker like other quarterbacks we've seen.
I guess the issue I have is we're getting caught up on the highest paid part. That's only temporary.
Right.
He is the Dolphins franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Franchise quarterbacks have a price tag associated with them. So today's point, which I very much agree with, is that if you feel even kind of like this guy is going to be there for the next 3 years, pay him immediately because the price tag only goes up. In 2 years, $60 million is not going to seem like that much money.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes. $40 million was once a whole bunch of money. It's not now. Like, if you could get Tua for $40 million, that would be unbelievable.
Celebrating.
But let me ask you this, though, Joy. Do you Baker Mayfield pay him? Do you Daniel Jones pay him?
I'm gonna get there.
Do you Geno Smith pay him? Or do you Joe Burrow pay him? Lamar Jackson pay him? Jalen Hurts pay him? Because I feel they view him as a franchise quarterback. The Giants view DJ as their franchise quarterback after he won the playoff game, and the Eagles view Jalen as their franchise quarterback. But that viewing differed by like $100 million. So where are you saying you pay him? Like, do you view him as that 60 mil or you view him as that like 35
Listen, if the
mil?
Dolphins can maneuver a deal where they pay him not as the highest paid, and Tua is willing to do that, by all means. I don't know why Tua would do that. Tua is the future of the Dolphins. They've built the entire team around him. They've built the entire offense around him. The coach is there for him. All the pieces that they've brought in there has been to bolster the offensive side of the ball, which he runs. He answered the question last year of whether he could stay healthy for a year. And believe me, like, health, especially at that position, is one of the most irritating things to have to deal with because it is such an important position. Your entire team is built around that position. And if you're not available, it can absolutely ruin your season. So I get it. But he was healthy last year. The team is built around him. He is their franchise guy. And to Dave's point, being in the position to pay a franchise quarterback is a great position to be in. Do not get overwhelmed with the money. Do not get overwhelmed with the situation. We were talking about moving off of Daniel Jones all offseason, which they very much could have done.
He never got paid, though. He's
I agree, but I think Tua is way better than Daniel Jones.
I agree with you on that, but when I look at the Miami Dolphins, right, because you keep saying that it's going through Tua, but, like, I mean, all that talent they have there and that coaching, the scheme he has, I think a lot of quarterbacks would do well in that system, right? Because we seen Tua, everybody thought he was wrecked. You a Miami Dolphin fan, right? Before Daniels came in there, what you think of Tua?
I had a lot of questions about Tua.
A lot of questions.
But I will say I can do that for a lot of quarterbacks.
We talking about Tua. A lot of questions about Tua, right? Every other coach want to get rid of him, right? Truth.
A lot did.
This is what it is, right? There was some rumors of Tom Brady. Right, nobody loved him. Nobody was talking about Tua, right?
I
Ask him about
agree.
the contract, they wouldn't say no. What I'm saying is when you bring this coach and you bring all these players here, he looks a lot better. I think the players help him out more than he helps the offensive weapons around him. And the last part is...
Keep going.
Y'all talking about health like it's just nothing. Like, oh, yeah, he'll be healthy.
No, that matters.
Every other game, he was going out like going. We was praying for him. I don't know what was going on, right? So when you speak about paying a guy, if you was my financial advisor, right, I'm going to make a big business deal with this player. He's always hurt. You want to say...
Last year, he wasn't, though.
I mean, we're going to go for 1 year? So I'm going to give you a 4-year contract, but we're going to go for 1 year. He's been here for 4 years?
But
So out of four...
You get paid off of your most recent accomplishments.
Kinda. Not your health? What do you mean?
Not only that,
they're going to bring that up.
He had them in the playoffs back-to-back years, which is more than I can say for...
Man, y'all playing this game. I know this. In that contract room, I'm sure they're going to be putting some stipulations in there like, yo.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
That's a great
I'm
point.
not saying that the Dolphins should just unhinged go into this and give him a Patrick Mahomes deal. I wouldn't even put Patrick Mahomes in here. There's not Patrick Mahomes is on the market. So I wouldn't even put him in that conversation. And his deal is an extreme outlier anyway. I'm talking about it's the next man up. He's a franchise quarterback. He will get top of the market money, and he should.
He should get that.
I think that the Dolphins have more than enough reason to put any kind of those stipulations in the deal because he has had an injury history that is fair to bring up. I'm not saying that they should just give him whatever he wants. That's what contract negotiations are. You know this. Like, the first pass is going to get redlined top to bottom, and then we'll find somewhere that makes sense. But as far as him being like the highest paid, I don't lose my mind over that because it could literally be for a day, and then the next guy gets highest paid, and it's nothing to get hung up on.
My last point is this, right? Because I do like Tua, but I am being honest. Like, come on, you getting the highest paid in the league, you always hurt, right? And then I look at the players around that make you better. You showed that. Hold up, you showed that list of coaches, right? And all them lists of them coaches, they have a great system that works, where the quarterback don't have to be as great.
Sure.
Right? We go to the Niners. Now we watch them rip through freaking quarterbacks like a pip on the street, and they still have success. So when you talk about Tua, right, and I hate to do this, but yo, you know players he had down there, they ain't gonna add Odell Beckham as a number 3 receiver with them speedy running backs. They're gonna be fine if they have another quarterback.
Shady, that's where I just disagree because. I disagree because, one, we've seen the Niners swing and miss all the way with Trey Lance. I mean, swing and miss in the worst way. But I just think that if you have a guy that's a perfect fit for your system, and I only think there's about 6 to 8 of them caliber quarterbacks, I'm not going to run. You're not getting no running from me. This ball's coming out. It's coming out on time. It's going to come out accurately. Then I would commit to him because of just how well he's constructed for that team. He helps Tyreek get better. He helps Waddle get better. Tyreek gets it. What? Shady, Tyreek had his best season ever.
Man, listen,
ever.
That's cool. That's cool for TV.
That's cool for real life.
We get in there. We hold up. We go there with wide receivers. We go there with quarterbacks. And we had this conversation. And we gonna say that? They gonna look like we crazy.
Shady, he had his best season ever.
All right. Okay.
Ever.
Okay. All right. You my boy, so I'll let you live. If you telling me that you think.
I'm not. Whoa. What did you hear? Because I didn't say Tyreek. I didn't say Tua was better than Pat.
You could never even mention.
Of course
so I know
not.
you gonna make a mistake like that.
Of course not.
A guy like Jared Goff, I think he's good. I think
Good player.
Good player.
If he put him in Miami, I think they do the same stuff, right? Don't make me keep going on this list.
Yeah, Jared Goff is also going to get paid.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying.
You think how replaceable
Yeah,
Tua is?
You can't replace Tua with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's not available.
I'm saying, but if I go, okay, you want me with some just regular dudes?
That's because
Right?
that's really the conversation. Like,
All I'm
I don't
saying
think
is-
Jared Goff is regular. Jared Goff has played in the NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl with two different teams. If we're talking about is Tua replaceable with just a regular quarterback?
While I use Jared Goff is because he was in a similar offense with Sean McVay.
Right.
And you see where they went, right? They didn't have as much talent, but they had good talent. All I'm saying is that, you can win with them type of coaches, them type of mind frames, right? They geniuses on offense. You see it. You joke about Trey Lance, but I mean, they did go to Mr. Irrelevant, and he's a guy now, right? That typically never really happens. All I'm saying is, and Jimmy G, not Jimmy G.
Which one?
Is it Jimmy G?
Yeah, Jimmy
Yeah.
Awful. Took them to the playoffs, everything. Championship with the Chiefs. I was the Chiefs that year. The game plan was, please let this guy get to third down. I watched him beat Aaron Rodgers in his heyday, MVP Aaron Rodgers. They threw the ball maybe 10 times the whole game. They beat him, ran for 200 yards. All I'm saying is, them type of coaches, they win with the personnel and the game plans. Tua is a good quarterback. But to say get paid the top of the market, no, not top, the top of the market, like the number one, is wild to me because the players around him making better and the game plans better, man.
I agree with everything you just said.
You have to.
But
there's a
at the end of the day, Mike McDaniel and the decision makers with the Dolphins, if they were to let Tua leave, they still have to identify the next guy. And even if it's easy in theory, Trey Lance is sitting right there. And Mike McDaniel was part of that decision as well. Obviously, it doesn't sit on him. That's Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. But Mike McDaniel was there. Mike McDaniel knows that even as easy as all of this can look on paper, you still have to identify the next guy. And what? Even if the Dolphins aren't great next year, do we think they're going to be picking at the top of the draft?
No.
Probably not. So what are we talking about here? Even when they were picking at the top of the draft and they wound up with Tua, you could easily make the argument they got that wrong because they picked him in front of Justin Herbert, who has already been paid.
But the funny thing
it's way easier to say you can find an improvement than to actually do it.
I just love how the narrative changes, right? You know why? Because look, it was a point in the time, right, when everybody thought Tua was at the bottom of the quarterbacks, right? Right? It was a time of that. I know you
Then he threw for 4,600 yards.
I know you felt like that. I know you felt like that before. I know you felt like that before, right? I'm not even knowing I did it, but I'm just knowing football. So he was one of the weakest, we thought. You get a certain coach, he bringing all his speed, talented receivers, right? Waddle, Tyreek Hill, right? These running backs, and now he's one of the best. You get what I'm saying?
But that's the same thing that happened with Jared Goff.
What I'm saying is the coach has a lot to do with that.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
The way their systems are, and if you could do it for Tua, we thought was awful at one point in time.
You're saying you could do it for somebody else.
I agree.
So why pay him that much money? That's what I'm saying.
I agree, but
I hear the thought, but I hear the
Boy,
thought.
y'all gotta come on.
Tua has the leverage. He's in the last year of his deal. He had his best year, career highs and a bunch of statistics that matter. Got them to the postseason 2 years in a row. He was healthy all season long. You get paid off your last year. And to find a replacement, while it sounds easy, is not that easy.
But they did that. We thought he was at the bottom of the barrel, though. Did y'all not forget?
I hear what you're saying, but I think that to me, I think that I actually think Tua was always really good. There's a reason I think he was a top 5 pick. Obviously, he had the injury. That's in large part why he didn't go number 1 along with Joe Burrow went crazy. But Tua always had the potential to be untapped. So, Shady, you also have to assume that this player that you find has that top quality potential. Jared Goff was 0-7 under Jeff Fisher. Sean McVay comes in, you instantly go to a Super Bowl 2 years later. But Jared Goff was a number 1 pick out of Cal Berkeley for a reason, because he had that type of potential. So I guess the other thing is you got to identify somebody that has potential.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.